Elon Musk is the news. Will his acquisition of Twitter aid democracy or damage it further, and how do his actions stand in the way of a potential unipolar world rather than a geopolitical triangle of terror between the U.S. Russia and China? And more importantly, why won't he answer my texts? Hello there, you 6 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage towards truth. There is a light within you. It is becoming brighter, but you must overcome the systems internally and externally to access the power that is within you right now. Every day we air on Rumble streaming live, and every single episode we've made, like with Tulsi Gabbard and Jordan Peterson and Eckhart Tolle and Vandana Shiva, are all on Rumble now. Check them out in full. They're full first and censored for you. Now let's get into this story. So Elon Musk has acquired Twitter. Some people are really into it, some people are vehemently against it broadly, on the lines of whether or not they're a sort of libertarian, free speech advocate or neoliberal center-left Democrat who seem to me to be increasingly interested in authoritarianism in order to meet certain moral and ideological ends. An opinion I think is worth contemplating when discussing this is the opinion of Edward Snowden. Here's a person who made a pretty difficult moral choice when it came to censorship, surveillance, and doing the right thing. Said this is going to cause controversy, but platform censorship has clearly gone too far. Content moderation should be an individual decision, not a corporate prison. Let people make their own choices, and not just on Twitter. Over on Rumble we'll be talking in more detail about FBI infiltration into big tech platforms and how their involvement in censorship and guiding the policies and publication ideologies of these platforms is much more extensive and deep than we'd ever realized, and amounts to a kind of authoritarianism that we could only have dreamed existed before. Here's Matt Taibbi on the subject. A few of the more prominent Musk critics are claiming merely to be upset at the prospect of wealthy individuals controlling speech. This is a bizarre thing to be worrying about all of a sudden, since it's been the absolute reality in America for a while, perhaps even prior to big tech platforms. The public sphere has long been controlled by barons and media moguls is nothing new in that sense. Jimmy Kimmel, late night talk show host and comedian, was much more succinct in his condemnation. The host of Jimmy Kimmel Live on AB tweeted, "It has been interesting over the years to watch you blossom from the electric car guy into a fully formed piece of, I suppose that susiful to see that read, even including expletives on mainstream media news, suggesting a tonal change in their reporting on the subject. Now, just to let you know where I stand on this, whilst I'll be fascinated to have Elon Musk owner's show as a guest, and it's something I've been trying to achieve for a little while, I'm obviously curious about the ways in which Elon Musk differs from any other billionaire. What's his relationship with the state? How is his business funded? What is his relationship with his workers? Having spoken to Elon Musk on one occasion and exchanged a few communications, I recognize that this is a highly alert and amusing individual. But is he distinct great from a figure like Jeff Bezos, and in what ways is Musk different? Certainly, his advocacy for free speech is interesting, and Edward Snowden right there agrees with that. Clearly Jimmy Kimmel sees things differently. Where do you stand? Do you want to blindly assume that Elon Musk is a kind of a toxic individual, or similarly think of him as some kind of Richard Branson big tech Willy Wonka genius? What do you think is most likely to be true, or, as is often the case, is it more complex than that? Media figures everywhere are openly complaining that they dislike the Musk move because they're terrified he will censor people less. A professional journalist who opposed free speech was not long ago considered a logical impossibility. That's already an extraordinary thing to consider. Journalists used to just uniformly oppose the idea of censorship, knowing that even if they disagreed with something that someone was saying right now, the principle of free speech was vital. Now obviously the world has changed. We now have so much access to information that is possible for very marginal views. It's called a marginal to enter the mainstream, but I would argue perhaps more pertinently is more necessary than ever for centralized forces, be their governmental, corporal, media, or communicative, more Broadly, to have absolute control over the space. That's why we're seeing the rise, in my opinion, of terms like misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and a kind of willingness to morally underwrite censorship in a variety of ways, usually for safety or protection. But safety and protection are generally used to increase regulation of public space. It's for your safety. How many times in the last couple of years have